The Board of Trustees of the Harris County Department of Education is now convened in a board meeting on Tuesday, July 18th, 2017, in the boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Houston, Texas, at 9:26 a.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present in this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to report from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policies for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time today to join us and for your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. With that, we will have the invocation by Jaime Martinez.
Okay. We praise you and we bless you, Lord. We want to give you honor and glory. We want to recognize you as the only true God, the one that called words into existence. You have all the power, all the honor, all the glory. We exalt your name, O Lord. We want to thank you for the opportunity that you give us to be here. And we want to thank you for allowing us to listen to your voice and recognize the purpose that you have for us as individuals and as a department. We want to thank you, Lord, for being able to listen to the people around us so that we can provide them with the services that they are needing. We want to thank you, Lord, for allowing us to listen to each other in our department so that we can understand each other and face the world in a way that we are a united department. We want to thank you, Lord, for those who benefit from the things that we as a department perform. We want to ask you, Lord, to provide for our needs, to bless our families. Amen.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and to the Texas flag will be by Mary Yoakum of Human Resources.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We're now going to have a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed HCDE fiscal year 2018 budget. Dr. Amesco.
You have a copy of all the slides in a handout, and also you have a summary of our proposed budget in two charts. The HCD goals or the budget by goals are identified in the slide number 5 that deals with how much is our budget is. So the 114 million is going to goal 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The process of budgeting process that we set for the year it started with back in November, December, when the board approved the budget calendar, and this is a continuous process that we implement at HCDE for the year. It's a year-long cycle. It culminates in the adoption of the board of the budget, but it also continues because there are changes and amendments that happen throughout the year, and so every month I bring to you budget amendments that are necessary in order to continue with the implementation of the annual budget. Our total budget is $114,521,000. General fund is 47.5%. The special revenue funds are grants totaling $35.5 million, is 31%. Our debt service payments totaling $3.1 million, or 2.7%. Our enterprise fund or choice partners is $4.2 million, or 3.8%. Our capital projects fund is $10.8 million, or 9.4%. And our facilities or internal service fund is $6 million, which is 5.3%. And you see all the different FTEs, or full-time equivalents. Those are the positions that have been approved under each of the funds. The general fund, 429, special revenue funds grants, 398, enterprise, 16, capital projects, none, internal service, 49.5, and debt service, none. Our budgetary assumptions are modified accrual of accounting, property values growth at 3.5%, 3.8% of planned expenditures, one-time capital projects, a balanced approach, looking at a 3% salary increase and including of the salary schedules, business model and positions, new positions budgeted are 11.05, which is 2 for school-based therapy, 2 for recovery, 3 for special schools, 1 for choice, 1 for records, and 1 for case debate. 95% of our revenues come from 5 major categories, 45% in the general fund, therapy, 36% special schools, choice, records management, and teaching and learning. 3 major initiatives are recovery, high school, case, and the capital improvement projects that are included in the one-time expenditures. Sources of fees, all the sources of fees in the general fund include safe schools, educational certification, recovery high school, and miscellaneous revenues to round up the general fund. The revenues in the general fund are $15.7 million, 3% as indirect costs, 6% state matching, 43% fee, 45% taxes, and 4% transfers. Our client inflows were $24.8 million in 2016, and our 5 major categories include other entities, Cy-Fair, Houston ISD, we have Klein, and we also have other school districts. The general fund expenditure is $1,034,960 decrease from a year ago, or a 2% decrease, 62% in payroll, 7% in contracted services. Supplies were 3%, 13% miscellaneous operating costs, capital outlay 6%, and transfers out are 8%, which includes the transfer out to the debt service of $3.1 million, Case $550,000, Baytown $569,000, and then Head Start for $300,000. Capital projects or used from fund balance include $450,000 replacement assets, technology upgrades, Baytown improvement, and building upgrades from the general fund. Tax rate recommended, again, this is projected and estimated at this time. We will recalculate it about 2 to 3 months from now when we get the certified values, but the recommendation is that the tax rate, recommended tax rate will be below the effective tax rate for the 3rd consecutive year. And so that is being recommended because the values have gone from $422 billion to $437 billion, an increase in the value of 3.5%. Our grants for 2017 and 18, the biggest grant being Head Start at 17 million, Adult Ed grant, state programs. We also pending information from the virtual schools program to see if that's going to continue. If not, that will be reduced. CASE programs, after-school programs, local grants that we receive, so a total of 35.5 million projected for 2017 and 18. This is the estimated rate, 0.0051, based on the projection of going below the effective tax rate. We will do the recalculation again in about 2 or 3 months when we get the certified values. The fund balance projected, we started with beginning balance, add the revenues, less appropriations, use of projected fund balance, and then the projected fund balance at 18.3 million once those are effected. Again, this is a projection based on where we think that we'll end up 16 months from now. Capital projects, development plans ongoing, includes the recovery high school renovation, Baytown improvements, adult ed cross timbers for workforce development, building upgrades, and so those are being proposed for 2017, 2018. And then our fund balance projection, again, 16 to 18 months from now, will be 16.2 million in unassigned, 679 in assigned, committed 1.2, 0 restricted, and 159,000 in non-spendable. Do you have any questions or any questions from the public? We have the next steps is to end the public hearing or any questions, and then adopt the budget later on in the agenda.
Two questions. Jesus.
Yes.
I'll do one at a time.
Sure.
Can you please, I think it warrants being heard, how you've accounted for the special session where they may do a teacher salary increase, because we have proposed, and well-deserved, but we have proposed 3% in this budget that we hope that
Sure.
might be approved today, but we have a session that's starting today that may propose some additional increase, and if that's represented or reflected somehow.
Sure. The 3%, from what I've heard so far, is that the discussion was about a $1,000 increase in salary adjustment. That 3% will cover that. However, anything above that would have to come back to look at the impact of that to the general fund or to any other grants. At this point in time, the 1,000 could be covered within the 3%. Based on what I've read on the bill, that you'd have to look at what was there last year, this year, and then the differential, which the 3% will cover that. Again, anything above that may or may not be covered, so we'll have to come back to you and look at what the possible impact of that would be.
Second question, slide 14. We touched on this, but I wanted a little more information on the building upgrades that you said were, I need you to clarify again. You said we're not expending it, you're putting it aside. And also I see, I was wondering when we were going to get an update on this sign for Mrs. Ethel Wolf, and I see it listed there, but do we have a line item for that?
We have a general appropriation for building upgrades to include adult cross timbers, workforce development, any new improvements that may be needed, whether it be this building or other buildings. And so this is just a general appropriation. It's not set aside by a specific line item. It's just a general reserve set aside under the appropriations, and then, of course, those will come back to the board.
Oh, so any of these projects will come back to the board specifically?
Projects that are above $50,000 would come to the board.
But if not, you will have these funds set aside.
Right.
please. Jesus, do we know how many employees we have that might be impacted by the potential $1,000 pay increase?
17? 70.
70?
70.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody in the audience like to ask you a question? This is a open meeting for y'all at this point. So you are, if you'd like to ask any questions concerning the budget, you're welcome to come up and ask them. Well, Dr. Besqua, I see nobody, no takers, so. I have three visitors that signed up. We have Roger Basrich, Bill, and Ricardo Vale. Welcome. And now we have the open forum part. This is where the public participation pursuant to policy BED local. A citizen who wishes to speak may do so by completing a participation request card available at the boardroom at least 10 minutes prior to the regular board meeting. We have two people signed up. First person is Heather Hatfield. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the Houston Urban Debate League, and I just wanted to come and thank all of you for considering our request to bring debate to more schools in Harris County. About a month ago, my colleagues and I spoke to you about the way that debate changes lives, and it's my hope that this time next year, we'll be talking about all of the lives that we've changed in Harris County. So I just, again, wanted to thank the board for considering our request, and we look forward to working with you and the students of Harris County.
Thank you. Colleen Vera, you signed up to speak. Morning, Ms. Vera.
Good morning. My name is Colleen Vera. I'm a taxpayer and a retired teacher, and I'm concerned about action item 8D, which is spending money to provide transportation for students going to Washington. The law that you guys operate under, many times they're a different attorney, but your attorney has argued that you only have to follow the second half of Chapter 18 for some reason. But even in that the second half of that chapter, it says the expenditure of your tax funds, the tax that you collect, cannot be spent in any school district which does not collect a property tax of 75 cents or more per $100 valuation. Well, if you look at the list of schools that these students are coming from, many of them are not from school districts which collect a property tax. So therefore, the equalization tax cannot be spent in those school districts. So I would ask you to please remove those students from the list before you approve it. Thank you.
This is the reports and presentations. Annual update of the HCDE Business Service Division. Jesus Amesca, Assistant Superintendent for Business Services. Dr. Amesca.
Somebody? We have a annual report, and we're going to combine both purchasing and business services into one presentation to try to consolidate. And so on our annual report for business and purchasing, our focus is to exceed client expectations and maximizing fiscal resources and providing quality support services linked to board goals, responding to needs and delivering value and provide cost savings. That's our focus in our mission in the department. In our leadership group, we have over 107 years of experience in the field of school districts and local governments. We have a systems of control, our financial operating guidelines. We have what I call the Wild Rocking Finance Office that is behind me, and I'd like to recognize the business office and the purchasing office. If you could please stand. We focused on the valuable staff and training. We have 22.5 full-time equivalents, 3%, 2% of our total budget. We sometimes have contracts with other clients, and so we bring in revenue as well. We have an excellent bond rating and financial indicators that you see in your financial reports. We have no letter to management comments. We have had a non-modified opinion as far as I can remember, going back at least 10 years. We have a robust risk assessment process that we conduct twice a year to identify our risk and determine whether we have to focus on our internal controls. We have a fraud awareness process as well that's in conjunction with the risk assessment process. We received 7 national awards, and we have over 760 attendees at our School Finance Council and roundtable leadership meetings for school districts and charter. We have been asked to do presentations at TASBO, ISM, and other locations. Since 2007, assets have increased by 16.9 million, investments 18.5, debt has decreased by 2.8, revenues are diversified, grants are 30%, fees make up 24%, indirect costs 1%, taxes 20%, bond proceeds 11%, facility charges, and workers' comp. Again, this is from the 2017 adopted budget. Our performance ratio is our numbers. The only thing that we'd like to do is not just report the information, but compare ourselves to a benchmark. And so we look at various ratios in the industry to see how are we doing. In terms of the debt to payment income, we're at 5%. Benchmark is less than 25%. Liquidity analysis, we're at 2.7, at a strong 2.7, which is normally just greater than 1. Solvency analysis, between 35 and 50%, we're at 36%. Return on assets, again, as an adapted return on assets, because we're not a business, but it's basically income to assets. We're at 4%. Income to equity, we are at 10%. Our financial capability analysis, we're at 7.7 of bonded debt per capita and 4.88 property taxes per capita. Debt service load is only 3%, which is very low. Financial position analysis, we're at 23% of unassigned fund balance. And we have a financial efficiency analysis that we operate. In this last year, it was $3 million in our general fund in terms of increase in our fund balances. Our revenue and expense per capita, the controller's office had asked that we prepare this analysis over a 5-year period. And so we have on a per capita basis how much is the expenditure per capita, which is 20 and 18. Our debt per capita is 2.43 versus 0.85 cents per capita. And so again, the controller's office requests that we publish this information for the last 5 years, so we continue to do that. Our purchases per capita are 17.7 based on a proof of 21.15 in 2016. Again, we went back to the last 5 years so we can look at our history. Our contracts per sector, where do we have our most contracts, and basically under 50,000, childcare, construction, consultants, copier, food service, insurance, and so on. This is for 2015, 2016. Again, the controller's office requests that we put this on our website, so we published this on our website since last year. And this is our staff. We have had some turnover. Some folks have been promoted and going to other districts and going on to become managers and so on. So, but we're very proud of the group and also the purchasing staff. Questions and answers that you may have. You have 3 reports, 1 specific to each division and 1 combined. Yes, ma'am.
Whoop.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's the work of the folks. As I mentioned before, this is my favorite picture of all the things that I get to do is looking at how you get a hug from one of those kids, it makes your day. Thank you.
Jesus, I have a question.
Yes.
This picture says 107 years. I'm assuming that 107 years isn't between the three of them.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Added up.
Add it up. Yes, add it up for us. Us three, we don't like two. Thank you. Thank you.
We have our annual update of the HCDE Purchasing Division. Bill Monroe, Director. That's part of that one? Oh, okay. Okay. The annual update of the HCD Human Resources Division, Natasha Truitt, Executive Director. Well, Natasha, they didn't include you in there, so you get to do your own.
Good morning. Today I'm presenting on behalf of the Human Resources Division. We're another internal support services division. Before I get started, I would like to ask the staff in Human Resources to stand. Thank you for your work in supporting our divisions. So the Human Resources Division, we support or provide services to about 1,060 employees across 18 divisions. The services we provide include employment and recruitment, compensation, benefits, leave and workers' compensation administration, training and development, employee relations, and personnel records management. I'll share a little bit of information about our HCDE employees. You're looking at a photo of our Head Start Center managers along with some of the Head Start operations team posing with our superintendent. So our employees, a significant portion of our employees are full-time. We have about 30% of our employees that are part-time. That's primarily employees working in our adult education division. Adult education, about 90% of their employees work part-time. And then we have about 50 part-time therapists, physical and occupational therapists, then about 20 to 30 substitutes included in that 30%. 72% of our employees serve students. They work directly with students, and this would include employees in our Head Start division. We have about 250 employees in that division. We have 160 therapists in our school-based therapy services program, and 120 employees in the schools divisions. That's our ABCs and our AB campuses and our high points, and about 250 adult education staff. Staff qualifications, you'll see that 41% of our employees hold bachelor's degrees, and 25% hold State Board of Educator teaching certificates. And then all of our therapists are licensed professionals through the state. Ethnicity data, 41% of our employees are African American, 28% Hispanic, 26% Anglo. Again, large portion of our workforce female. Years of service, about 57% of our employees have 5 years or less experience or years of service working at HCDE, and then another 20% have 6 to 10 years of working at HCDE. Recruitment efforts, you'll see that's a photo of our therapy services managers. I think it was at one of their appreciation events for all of the therapists. We had about 6,000 applicants to apply for positions at HCDE. We've been challenged this year with filling positions in our Head Start division. Retention and turnover is high in that division due to the wages that we pay the staff. We're not as competitive as some of the ISDs in the area with our Head Start program. This is a photo of the Teaching and Learner Sitting Staff Professional Development Session. We offer a variety of benefits to our employees to try to remain competitive with the Houston area market. About 58% of our employees are enrolled in our medical plan, 76% enrolled in life insurance in our employee assistance program, 46% enrolled in dental, and 35% enrolled in our vision plan. we had about 13% of our employees to apply for and be approved for extended leave. The majority of those employees were out on family and medical leave, which allows them up to 12 weeks of time off to take care of either recover from an illness that the employee may have or to care for a family member. And you'll see that's the feet belong to staff in the Teaching and Learning Center from one of our themed events related to breast cancer awareness. This year we transitioned to a new workers' compensation provider, which resulted in us having to train all of our leadership team members, develop or update procedures related to some of the processes, update our forms. And so, it was a little bumpy in the beginning because it was a new provider, an extreme difference between being a self-funded program moving to a fully insured program. But we finally got to the place where it's smooth sailing with workers' compensation. And then with technology, we offered a number of Microsoft Office training sessions to our support staff, and then a number of sessions to leadership team members. And for staff, we coordinated about 10 wellness initiatives and about 20 social events to help improve employee morale within the organization. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Wolf.
I noticed we had like 14 employees that went on assault leave.
Yes.
That number looked higher to me than some of the other areas. Is that an average number? Or?
Yeah, that's about average. Employees that go out on assault leave are typically employees in our schools division, primarily the academic campuses, or the AB campuses, our special needs students. Sometimes they may act out aggressively towards staff members. And so those individuals, they may be eligible for assault leave. And assault leave benefits can last up to 2 years. And so we've had 14 employees to apply for assault leave and be approved for assault leave.
So would all of those be assault that happened on the campus?
Yes, on the campus during the course of their duties, yes.
All right.
Why don't you tell me what it entails? I know you just kind of described it, but I think that's not true.
So an example could be a student just, acting out in the classroom and may attack a teacher or throw an object at a teacher or bite a teacher, scratch a teacher. And so it's coordinated with our workers' compensation benefits, so that employee would receive medical care, and if the doctor authorizes or determines that that individual is not fit yet to return to duty, then that employee is eligible for 100% of their pay and for 100% continuation of their benefits. And that could last for up to 2 years. On average, our employees are not out for that long a period of time. We may have had, over the past few years, we've had maybe 2 individuals that were out long term, but most employees tend to return in about 2 weeks for an extreme injury that may occur.
The difference between assault leave and workers' comp and assault leave is so much.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you. On your employment, your benefits enrollment, under your 403B and the 457B, that's a pretty small number. Any comment on that?
All of our employees are required to participate in both TRS and Social Security. So the 457 plan and the 403B plan is just another supplemental plan.
To those?
In addition to those.
Okay.
And so, participation, it's low for those particular plans. You're welcome. Ms. Carter.
Yes. I just had a question about length of service. We've had a lot of great employees and a lot of great retirements, well-earned retirements. But I didn't know if you saw any trends on skewing our years of experience to less versus more.
That's about average to where we are. Each year, we have had a large number of retirements the past, maybe 5 years within HCDE. Primarily in some of the therapy services division. Those employees have been with us long-term, a lot of our therapists and our managers. But on average, it's about average, the years of service over the years. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
All right, thank you.
Now we have the report of the board feasibility subcommittee.
The feasibility committee has met on the AB West school, the new school, and it's now on today's agenda to be approved by the board. So I expect an approval. Thank you.
There's some of the pages to update the development plan when we added some surveys. So there's
That's all.
Right. Thank you, sir. Okay, other reports from board members concerning attendance or participation in a board or HCDE related conference, event, activity, or committee. Accolades for an HCDE staff member or other deserving person. Anybody have anything? Okay. All right. Monthly financial reports through 6/30 of 17. Jesus and Mesqua.
June 30th, 2017. All our financial statements are posted on our website, and we have a 1-minute briefing that goes with each of the reports. Our balance sheet as of June 30th is $36,354,564, $1.6 million in liabilities, and fund equity of 36.3. Our unaudited fund balance is at estimated right now, because it's unaudited at this time, $28,272,085, and those are the different categories. Our financial ratios, benchmarks that we look at every month. The first one is the percent of fund balance to general fund expenditures ratio is at 35%. Last year was at 46%, is budgeted at 18%. Working capital, we're at $35 million, same as last year. Our unassigned fund balance ratio, we're at 41%, same as last year at the same time. Our debt to income ratio is at 6%, it's also budgeted at 6%. Our tax revenue to total revenue ratio is at 25% versus 31% a year ago. We budgeted to be at 21% at the end of the year. Indirect cost ratio, we're at 2%, and we were budgeted at 3% for the end of the year. The fee-for-service ratio is at 22% versus 24% last year, and we budgeted at 21%, so we slide above at this time. Fee-for-service growth ratio was 7%. Our revenues continue to expand versus last year, then 3% from a year ago. And we had budgeted a 5% growth increase in our fee-for-services, and right now we're holding steady at 7%. Our fund balance activity each month, these are all the amendments that have been presented to you. And our revenues are 83% of the year has lapsed, so we have 2 more months of the year. And so we're at 78% overall. 91% of the revenues come in the general fund, 50% in the special revenue fund, 74% in debt service, and overall at 78%. Our amendments, how they affect the budget are included by month. And also the expenditures, we're in the general fund, we're at 75% of the year, or at 71%. Special revenue funds, 70%. Debt service, 74%. And overall, we're at 66%. I have a typo there. June is the 10th month, not the 9th month, so we're at 83%, so I'll need to make an adjustment to this slide. Our donations report, year to date, we're at $65,604, cash of $20,322, and in-kind of $54,225. I'm sorry, 2017 is $4,303 in cash, and then in-kind of $54,225. And these are the donations primarily for Head Start. Our tax calculator, we're at $420 billion in terms of our values, and this is the progression of how they've grown from September at 419 billion, and now we're at 420 billion.1. Our year-to-date collections, we are at 21,651,895. We've paid fees to the appraisal district of 120,274. The Harris County Tax Office fees of 458,469. And so we're at 99.9% of the budget collected as of the 10th month. Disbursements for the month are 2.9 million, 58,450, and you have details, checks, and transactions and transfers included in your packet, and they're also posted on our website, all the check registers. Our segment division, we're at the end of June, we have education certification minus 313,798, records management negative 68,029. Again, we have 2 months left. School-based therapy 35,760. Schools 1,031,076 variance. For choice partners, we're at 1,943,605. As of June 30th, which is a strong transfer to the general fund at this time. Amendments for the general fund, we have no amendments. For special revenue or grants, we have amendments of 887,384, and primarily we have early Head Start grants that were approved for additional monies for early Head Start, 1,082,384, and then 200,000 for early Head Start grant as well. We also were awarded a reduction in matching funds for early Head Start of 395, so we're reducing that back down. So the net amount of the amendment is 887,384 for grants that we received additional for the department. Construction, again, we still have the same amount, 10,811,000 plus interest that is earning at the tax pool. And the development plan is scheduled to be presented later on to continue with that project. The next report is investments. Any questions on the financial statement highlights? Yes, sir.
Does the 78 million include the 800,000 of that adjustment that you just showed for Head Start?
The 78 million
that you earned through June.
No, the 887,000 hasn't been earned yet. It's just we just received the award.
So it's not in the June figures.
No.
Okay. My other question is: Are you projecting that we will meet our 100% of expected revenues by the end of August?
We are ahead. At this point in time, yes, and we're going to surpass the tax revenue a little bit, and in the terms of the fees, we're ahead as well. We have overall, we're going to meet the budget. We have some that are less, some that are more. So, but overall, we're gonna meet the budget.
You've recorded 80% of your budgeted amount at this point in time, and you're not going to get any tax revenue in these 2 months to speak of. So what are you expecting to get?
I think you're talking about the general fund, which is 91% at this point in time. 78 is the blended overall.
But it's still part of the budget.
Yes, but the revenues are pretty much set in those. For example, the capital projects, the facilities internal service fund. Right now, we've only spent 3.8 million, and so if that reduced, then the revenue is not going to be made 100%. So we will make budget on our fees.
All right.
Yes, sir. On our investment report, rates have been going up a little bit. Our policy is certified by the Government Treasurer's Officers Organization of Texas. We have a portfolio of $33,716,292, and then the PFC we have $10,855,896. And so all that is in 10.7 is in the investment pool, and 873 is in Chase, and Bank of Texas 84,900. 58% is in TechStart, 4% in TechSpool, Lone Star 8%, and Chase at 30%. This is the PFC. Again, 99% right now are in TechSpool, and then we have some funds at Bank of Texas for 0.78%. Excuse me. Our comparison from a year ago, we're 11.4 difference from a year ago, or 30% change, and primarily is the PFC of 10.8 million. Everything is pretty much overnight or 1 month, 33.7. So we have we're liquid. Our year-to-date earnings are at 100,946. This a year ago was probably more like $10,000, and so we have come more in terms of earnings because the rates have gone up. And then on the PFC, 12,842. We're earning 0.897, and so we're looking to extend the investments longer than 30 days to ladder the portfolio in a 90 and 120-day horizon, and so you will be seeing those investments in the next few months. As you can see, the rates have gone up from about 0.09 to about 0.90, so there's almost a whole basis point 1% that's gone up from September to today. And so as the rates go up, we continue to climb that, and we don't have market risk because we're climbing the ladder as the rates continue to go up. Questions on our investments or our strategy?
I see none.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll now look at action items consensus. Before I entertain a motion, I want you to look at page 5 on 7C10, 7C11. Both of these reference FY 2018, and it's a typo. It should say FY 2017. So on item 7C10 should be a contract for FY 2017. On and on 7C11 should be a contract for FY 2017 as well. All right, with that being said, do I have a motion now for the action items consensus?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Wolf. Do I have a second? Got a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion?
I thought we were I have something to withhold.
Ma'am?
I have something to withhold.
Okay.
Oh, normally we do that after.
Okay, go ahead and do the, go ahead. What would you like to withhold then?
Sorry. B as in boy 2. D as in dad 4. 4, yes. 7E, 6, and 7.
B2, D4, E6, and E7. Is that correct?
I would like to reserve 7B3.
3? Okay, so we got 2, 3. All right, anybody? Yes, sir, Mr. Wolf.
7B1. Because George was not here at that meeting.
So you're reserving it, or he's reserving it?
Well, I'm reserving it because of him.
Okay. We appreciate him doing it for you. All right. What else? Yes, sir.
C18. And D11.
I have to reserve 7C16 as well. For consensus today. So anyway, we have B1, B2, B3, 7C16, 7C18. We have D4 and D11, and E6 and E7. Is that correct? Okay, barring those, do I have a discussion for the ones we're going to approve in a minute, or disapprove? What are we going to do with them? No discussion? Go ahead.
So we're discussing the ones that are all in the consensus?
Correct.
Okay, I do have one question. I'm sorry. I have a question about 7E3. The page 539. These are all different types of consultants, and it vaguely says what they're doing is determined by the director. So I'm actually not sure how you would know to respond to this. I mean, I'm kind of unsure of how this was presented, because I don't know if all these companies do the same thing. It doesn't seem like it. And it says the scope of work and deliverables are reviewed by division directors based on program needs. So what were they responding to?
So we did an RFP for general consultants, and partly at the bequest of Galena Park, they want to piggyback on some of these. So some of these were requested that we look at for them. They do different things. We didn't
But what
list
does that term mean? If I'm a business and I get a general consultant, what does that mean?
Well, we put general because we were not asking for a specific consultant for one specific thing. We were doing
So anyone,
more
I
or
do
less a
PR,
blanket.
I do marketing,
We
I do
listed several
accounting.
items, but yes, we did say if you have anything else you want to, services offered.
Some items, some
Yes.
specifics.
Yes, yes.
It wasn't just.
We
only-
listed the categories.
You listed some categories.
Well, for example, therapy services, training services, instructional training categories. And so some of them were on different categories that they recommended. We can provide you of what the service that they're proposing on by the vendor, so you can know what they are.
Another time, but I just wanted to make sure the
Yes.
RFP listed something other
It
than
did.
general consulting.
No, there were categories listed so they could
Yeah.
respond to it.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to take this off the consensus and talk about it?
We can talk about it now.
Yeah, we can talk about it now. That was my only question. That they were responding to something specific.
Does anybody
More
else have any
specific.
concerns? Or?
It's not they're not awarded money. They only get money if they're,
Right.
yeah, this is just they're on a list. They're on a list to be used. If they are chosen, then they will get paid. We're not approving any expenditure.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of approving the consensus items not excluded, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We're going to go to, can I ask a question here? Mr. Moore, were you not here for any of B, so we just,
I wasn't here.
last week? Okay, all right. Last month, yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion on, can I take B1, 2, and 3 together then? No, do it separately? Okay. All right. So do I have a motion on B1?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Dick.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Wolf, I think it was. Okay. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor of B1, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? You can abstain. Okay. So it was 6-4 and 1 abstention. Okay. Item number B2, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Dr. Troutman.
Second.
Got a second by Trustee Lee. Do I have a discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all opposed? All abstaining? So I got 5-4, 2 abstention. Okay, item number B3, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by trustee Lee. I'll second it. Do I have any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? Well, I got 3, 4, and 4 abstentions, so it fails, doesn't it?
It's all those present and voting. It's just
That passes.
It was 3 to
Okay,
0.
so we still pass, okay. All right,
None of us were there, so we got to abstain.
all right. So,
Already wasn't there.
we're going to go to number 16. That's the interlocal agreements for Academic and Behavior School West. I pulled myself out because it has to do with Cypher ISD. So, do I have a motion?
So,
Got a motion by Mr. Dick. I got a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Against all opposed, I'm abstaining. So it's 6, 4, 1 abstention. Number 18, adult education, non-monetary and local contract with Spring Branch ISD. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Dick. I'll give it a second. Do I have any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Is this adult education that's given on the campus of Spring Branch ISD? Okay, so we just present the adult education at our expense on their campus, is what this amounts to.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we got to go to now D4, contract renewal option for job number 14/031 MP for curriculum instruction, assessment, and intervention materials and supplies with the list of vendors. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by trustee Lee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Troutman. Okay, do I have a
Something I've abstained before, and I would like to abstain.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all opposed? All abstaining? So it's 5, 4, 2 abstentions. Okay, here we got number 11, HCDE interlocal agreements with Mojave County, Kingman, Arizona, SNS Consolidated School District, Sadler, Texas, Temple College, Temple, Texas, and Texas City, City of Texas City, Texas. Right, do I have a motion? Got a motion by Dr. Troutman. I'll second it. Okay, do I have any discussion?
Yes, I was just wanting to inquire, these are just entities that are signing up with us for choice partners?
Yes, sir. They're basically new, we call them new members. They either found us through the web or through one of our vendors, things like that.
So do you expect that any of them would actually be using these vendors? Are these vendors?
That's the hope.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
they're a pretty good distance away.
Yes, and I think, and specifically the one that's out of state found us on the internet, and we didn't do research. All we know is that they found us on the internet, asked to become a member, and we abided, and I'm not sure what contract they're going to use. We hope they use them all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're now at 7 East, looks like 6. Contract null option for job number 17/002 LB for property and casualty insurance. Do I have a motion? Okay,
So moved.
Okay. Okay, trustee Lee, I'll second it. Do I have any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can someone comment if we are getting a discount for renewing and if we even considered getting an alternative bid? I know insurance market is volatile and can change. And I understand staying with the same company to a point, but did we consider getting another bid?
Yeah. I don't believe there is a discount for renewing. When we went out for the RFP, it's for 1 year with 4 one-year renewals at our option. We did not consider going out again for bid, so to speak, this year. Did that answer the question?
What year renewal is this?
This is the first renewal.
So this is the second year of the contract?
Yes.
And I am a little bit familiar in this area of insurance, as it's kind of the area of law I practice. Have we gotten like bids from other insurance companies to see what the rates are and maybe the coverage are? No?
Not for this renewal. We did when we went out for RFP, but there were very few. Do you remember 2 responses, I believe? There were very few responses at the time.
Very few insurance companies are willing to insure the buildings we have?
Well, it goes through agents. We had very few agents that went through the proposal process. And as for why, I'm not sure. I don't know if they're not willing or they were, at the time, they obviously were unwilling because they didn't put in a proposal.
I assume that then there wasn't any change in values insured.
No.
Are you all happy with that?
The values change depending on if we add any assets. So the values are comparable to a year ago. The delta is about less than $3,000 from a year ago.
Okay. All right, so you haven't increased the values of our properties
Not
this year?
significantly. Right.
Okay.
And Don, actually, sometimes insurance companies will unilaterally change the values of the property. It's not really our choice to change it.
When you have a renewal like that at the same price, you've got a problem.
Anybody else? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? All abstaining? So 5-4, 2 abstain.
Lewis, you missed 5, which I had asked for to be held. Right above it.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. I don't think I wrote it down, Don. All right. All right, then we'll go to number 5, contract renewal option for job number 16/047YR-1 for Head Start trainers and consultants for HCDE. Do I have a motion? A motion by Trustee Lee. Got a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have a discussion?
Yes, I was just wondering, is this renewal at the same amount per contracted service as it was a year before? No increase?
It's renewal based on the what was proposed at the time, which is a year ago. This is the first year.
First year renewal, yeah.
The premium's based on a payroll, so we gave an estimated payroll, and it's subject to audit.
Are you talking about the Head Start one, or are you talking about workers' comp?
Head Start. No, I'm sorry.
Number 5, Head Start trainers and consultants.
There was no change in that one.
So it is a renewal, but there is changes in the amount that we're going to pay, is what you're saying?
The rates have not changed.
The rates have not changed?
No.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll go to number 7, contract renewal option for job number 16/038LB for workers' compensation insurance. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick. Second. Got a motion by Mr. Wolf. Second by Mr. Wolf. Do I have a discussion?
Just a similar question. This is the second year.
Yes, this is the second year.
And I see this invoice, we're in network because,
Say again, please.
I don't know, I saw the invoice in our documentation, and it says we're in network, so we're getting a lower rate.
Yes, we get a lower rate. When we, as Natasha Truitt had mentioned that we started last year with the workers' comp and that we're happy with them. They instigated this where we get a lower rate by going in network.
Anybody else? Okay, all in,
Lewis,
heard somebody? Yeah.
in-network means that we're in a pool with a bunch of other companies?
It means we're in a pool with a bunch of physicians. The network refers to the doctors that would see the injured people.
Okay.
And so if they use the doctors that are specified and we say they have to, that was the terms of
I
this.
understand now.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We're now going to the non-consensus items. Consider adoption of the Harris County Department of Education FYI 2018 proposed annual budget totaling $114,521,059. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dix.
Second.
Got a second by Trustee Moore. Do I have a discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your
Wait a
hand.
minute.
Susan?
I want to offer amendment. I'd like to offer the following amendment that for addition to the approval of the budget, that the budget is to be reassessed at the time of the setting of the tax rate. No transfers out of surplus shall be anticipated without prior board approval, and no transfer shall be made between budget categories previous to notice to the board. And those are, I think, reasonable restrictions since we've got so many contingencies in the budget proposal.
Point of inquiry.
I've got it written down.
That's too many in one item. I mean, I'm not, President Evans, I'm not willing to vote on that as one item. Those are separate.
The board member has made the amendment, and then let's wait to see if there's a second. And if you have concerns, if there is a second, please bring those up in the discussion of the motion.
Okay, let's see if I got a second first, we do any discussions. Do I have a second? Second. Now I have a second. Now, do we have discussion?
So was the second to the amendment or to the?
The second is to the amendment
that
Mr. Sumner's made.
Right.
And now there's discussion on the amendment, not on the original motion.
Okay. Couple of things, and the second thing I'll turn over to Dr. Amesqua. Trustee Sumner's, I'm not clear. Your request, your amendment, that's effective now through September until the next budget cycle, or I'm not sure what the timeline is.
The last two items are permanent requests, and the first one is just a request that the budget be revisited at the time that the tax rate is set for all of the things that we have got in there right now that are contingent on other situations.
Well, so, Dr. Amesqua, we reassess our budget at the tax rate anyways. So just like we said in the budget committee meetings, is that this budget was contingent on the tax rate that we were going to propose to the board, which was for the third year in a row below the effective tax rate. Certainly if the board didn't agree to that tax rate and wanted to do something different or specifically less than that, we would be going to a deficit budget model, and we would have to adjust our budget accordingly. Is that correct,
That's
Dr.
correct.
Amesqua? The other issues that concern me is they sound like procedural issues of how we go about our budget. Dr. Amesqua.
We already have procedures, controls in place. We cannot transfer between categories, between a department, a division, and another. That's set. We have to come to the board. That's part of our budget amendments, the process that we go through. we cannot transfer between one fund to another unless the board approves it. So that's already set in policy and procedure. So that's already, we already do that as a matter of practice.
So let me
And policy.
Let me ask for a point of clarification. So essentially, the three things that Trustee Sumner's asked for, we currently do those things anyway.
Right,
so
we
there's
do.
no reason for this amendment.
Right.
Correct.
And we have to have a budget adoption prior to August the 31st.
Oh, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, in the past, we have been presented with items already booked of transfers from surplus and such to approve before we even knew that it was proposed.
No, I think you and I had discussed that we added a column at the end. When we present the items, they would be for consideration. If they get adopted, then they will go and be affected into the general ledger. But other than that, they don't get done.
And we will have a budget committee meeting prior to
The adoption, the setting of the tax rate, yes.
Okay. I'll withdraw my amendments.
Okay. There, we've already had a motion and a second, and we've had discussion, so we can't have a vote now on the budget. All in favor of item 8A, the budget, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right. 8B, contract award for job number 17/043 KJ for the period of 7/18 of 17 through 7/17 of 18. And the approval of service contract for the period of 8/1 of 17 through 7/31 of 18 for adolescent recovery support and counseling service. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Erica Lee and a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion?
Can the superintendent or whomever tell us a little bit? This is very important, our first time contracting for the recovery schools, so I would like a brief.
Sure, Trustee Carter. We put an RFP out some time ago to elicit responses. Actually, we put an RFI out first to request for information to know more about what our RFP process should look like for the therapeutic component of our recovery school. As you know, when we presented originally with the recovery school, we didn't have the audacity to think that we could educate our students and help them with the recovery process in dealing with their addictions. And ultimately, I presented to the board that that was something that I would like to consult out to licensed professionals that do that for a living in order to ensure the successfulness of the program. Well, when we put the RFP out, we had, Mr. Parker, how many responses, I believe? We had 8 responses. Ultimately, I believe Mr. Parker and Dr. Mesqua went through those 8. We brought in an additional 5. We offered 5 to come in and do an interview with us. 4 of them responded. We spent really a Friday after evening up to 7:30 at night interviewing the 4 candidates to provide the service for us. All 4 of them were local in Houston and have a long track record of success. So it became a very difficult decision to make because we've even gotten to know some of these people through the recovery community and the meetings that we attend and conferences. But ultimately, the turning point that we decided to go with is a company that already deals with our juvenile probation situation in the county. They're already dealing with rehab with students who have been getting deferred adjudication to a recovery program. They have an extensive, detailed curriculum, which was something that was unique to the other companies that presented, and competitive pricing. So I feel very good about this. I actually would have felt good about the other 3, but certainly Turning Point has risen to the top, and I think that we're going to have a very good partnership moving forward. Oh, I'd also like to clarify, currently in the proposal, what we will do is have 2 recovery counselors and 2 recovery coaches that will be assigned to the campus. And that is well within the ratios that all of the companies suggested, that you should go to a 15-to-1 ratio with the students. You can't use a typical school model where we do 22-to-1 with teachers. So I think we're going to be well-staffed and ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Just confused about the dates that are given out here. Why do we have two periods mentioned in the agenda item?
Typically, we do the following day of the RFP, but the contract and the preparations will take place between the 18th and August the 1st, and so it could be the next day, but logistically speaking, it will not happen until at least a week and a half later until we go through the contract.
Why would you have an effective date before the school is even open?
So I had put a tremendous amount of pressure, not only on Mr. Parker, but also our business department, that it's critical that we start eliciting the input of our therapeutic component as we develop the master schedule for the school, the curriculum for the school, even the design of the school needs to have input from stakeholders who will be a part of providing the service. So the reason why we kind of hurry up and got this thing going is because we're almost at an impasse with construction and design where we need that input now so our architects can move forward.
So is there a different rate for that primary period before you open?
No. The contract is a sum total contract. I don't think we're doing it where they're charging us a daily or a monthly rate.
No, we will look at and work with our attorney to look at a phase-in so that, because the first day we're not going to need all 4 FTEs.
Yeah, correct.
So we'll do a phase-in so that we can get input from the company, but we will not be charged at the full 100% rate because we will not have students just yet.
And I think it's also clear that we need to have some extensive training with our staff once our campus gets staffed up, and we need to do even professional development to work with the chemistry of the two staffs to be able to work together.
Are we planning on having the initial staff on hand on August 1st? Is that what the deal is? So the school won't be open then, though?
No.
So what are they going to do?
It's part of the planning process and part of the meetings with the architects and the instructional setting. So,
is that the same people that are in the July date at the top?
Yes.
So why don't we just have a contract that goes from, what are we doing here? I mean, it looks like we'd have one from July 18th to August 31st, and then one September 1 to August 31st the next year.
Well, you can align it to July 19 to July 18 of next year to align with the RFP. It's just that it's not. It's going to take some time from the time we get to the contract. So.
Well, I understand that, but neither one of those terms coincides with our year.
Oh, that's right. The fiscal year starts on September 1. So
why can't we make the contract coincide with our year?
Because we need them before the fiscal year. So we can start it from July.
Do the July to August and then September to August.
Okay, but the number is going to be a little different, probably. So because it's adding an extra month to the contract, because you're going from July 19.
So my question is, why are we doing all that?
Well,
because it doesn't make any sense right now.
The July date is for the RFP, which is, we normally date it, the approval on the date of the board. However, it was decided that we did not actually need to start paying the workers until August, and that's why there's a difference in that one. Normally, they coincide a lot closer.
So the way it's written right now, there's no additional cost to the department. This is just a contract logistics that you put together?
There's no additional cost for the July date at all. Their contract that they're getting paid for runs from August, correct?
Okay, and you have people come in August before school starts so they can get ready, plan for the school year, get to know each other, put everything together just like every other school in the entire world.
Exactly.
So why don't we make it from July? You're making it from July to July because that's a year? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, for the
RFP. Although the next contract overlaps that.
they can overlap as long as it becomes effective during the period of the RFP.
So which ones in effect on August the 1st?
The people that they wrote the contract with that we're actually going to be paying money off of. Until we have a contract approved, the RFP, you can approve it, but we're not going to pay anybody. When you approve the contract that's effective August 1st, that affects the pay.
Okay. If y'all are happy with that, it just is very confusing.
It's just a logistics, that's all.
So everybody else got any questions? Okay, all in favor of 8B, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, 8C, consider approval of the development plan for HCDE's AB School West, including the budget, and consider authorizing the superintendent to implement the AB School West project. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick. Do I have a second? I'll second it. So now, Mr. Sumner, I hear your discussion.
Yes, I think that in the committee meeting that we discussed that the word superintendent should be the Public Facilities Corporation should be substituted for the word superintendent.
Agreed.
And I'm in.
So we're amending, is that an amendment, Mr. Sumner?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to state your amendment or like me to restate your amendment to the record?
Can it be a friendly amendment between him and the department since he just agreed to it?
No, because it's presented on it can be friendly, but it's presented on the agenda as superintendent, so just for the record of the minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to item C to substitute the words Public Facilities Corporation for the word superintendent.
Second. I second it.
Discussion is on the amended motion.
So does anybody have any discussion with substituting the word superintendent with Public Facilities Corporation?
And I'd just like to have a point of clarification. The reason why we're doing that is once the developmental plan is approved, assuming it is approved by the board, it'll get turned over to the PFC where it was originally, and the PFC can continue on with the project of developing the campus.
Okay, anybody else? All in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. So with that, the number C, substituting the superintendent for, our PFC for the superintendent, as approved by the amendment, we're going to vote now. Go ahead.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
And can I get a brief review of this handout, since we were handed this? Was this from the meeting yesterday?
Dr. Mesqua, the 3 additional pages. So everybody's been given the actual developmental plan for AB West earlier. I think it was probably 2 months ago.
Yeah, I have that, but this says update number 1. I presume this is
Dr.
slightly
Mesqua,
different
can you go over
than
those
what
3 pages real quick?
We updated a couple of the maps because we had a rendering from an architect before, and this is a survey of the property and also some of the locations of where this property is going to be at. So we updated those 2 maps. On the 3rd page, the only thing that we updated was one of the numbers that 3.5 million needed to be the same on both columns, and what my spreadsheet was taking a different number, so I was just correcting that number to be the same. But nothing's changed in terms of the numbers. It's just that my Excel spreadsheet didn't pick up one of the numbers, so I'm just correcting that.
Okay, and I do have one more question. It's fairly a few months ago that we had the architect presentations and the proposal on the building budget. So when it goes to PFC, if those numbers need to be updated by whomever because of cost of supplies, they will provide that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will be updated.
Right.
And we'll be seeing, okay, we're not going to just go on what it was 5 months ago.
Right.
Okay.
Hang on.
Oh.
Dr. Trout.
Yes, and I know we kind of stalled for a couple of months here, so my first question is, what is the estimated completion date on this project?
We had looked at December 18, but I think that's moved since then, so we need to go back and revisit that when we talk to the architects about the estimated time of completion would be more likely into middle of 2019.
I noticed even on this agenda, lots of contracts for AB West. Are we even or up for contracts for AB West?
Yes, we're actually have more contracts than we had in the past. So there's a need to have the facility because we're a little bit over capacity at this point in time.
Mr. Parker, what's the status of summer school right now at AB West?
We have over 80 students in the summer school program at AB West, which is double the typical enrollment.
Okay, Mr. Sumner.
Yeah, for everyone's information, that the PFC plans to have open meetings primarily for the architects' presentations, anything of that regard, so the board will be fully informed.
Anybody else have any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor of 7C, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, number 8D, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a second by, was that Trustee Lee? All right, do I have any discussion? I mean, I have a question. There was something that was brought up earlier about taxing, whether we can even do these students. So can we, can we address this, please?
Jimmy, why don't you explain what this is, and we can talk more about the tax rate.
Sure, yeah, I'll defer to council on that. And my colleague Andrea Seagraves, who works on this project day in, day out, we worked on this together, getting this prepared. And I'll let her tell you more about the actual issue. But as this came forward and we brought it to the superintendent, it became very apparent that these 30 students were selected out of about 331,000 entries across the country. These are the only 30 students in the country that will be presenting their art at the United States Department of Education in September. And this was a unique once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these kids. We've been in the scholastic art business for as long as I've been at HCDE, so 20 plus years. And to my knowledge, this has never happened before, and likely will never happen again for all 30 of our kids to be selected. We were the only county in the country that had their students selected, and so we felt like this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for these kids. To the question raised earlier, there are some students on here who attend public school and some who do not, and so I think that was the issue that was raised. We worked closely with council, and it was very clear this was what's called a public purpose under law. I would defer to the lawyers at the table to explain what that means, but the way council explained it to me, this is no different than sending kids on a band trip. We're sending them on a trip to represent the county.
Mr. Wynn, do the students live in Harris County?
They all do, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
These are all Harris County students. But that's the only ones that participate in our scholastic art program.
Thank you.
I mean, I think the question was, at least the way I understood it from Ms. Vera, was that it's not like going on a band trip. It's the fact that we're sending children on this trip using taxpayer money, and they are not part of an entity that collects taxes. And I think that was where the question came about. So I'm now paraphrasing this up. But
I would have to defer to council on that. We brought this forward based on the fact that since these children do live in Harris County, all of their parents are by definition Harris County taxpayers, and so that was our belief that this was a reasonable request.
Mr. Wynn, is the money going to the students directly?
No, ma'am. This pays for their travel and their hotel.
And does it go?
We're booking those. Ms. Seagraves is booking.
Okay,
By we, I mean Ms. Seagraves is booking.
So the money isn't being transferred to another school, a private school,
No.
and the money isn't being transferred to a private individual.
No.
We, as the Harris County Department of Education, are using taxpayer dollars to fund the trips of the students of taxpaying parents.
Yes, Ms. Seagraves will be attending with 30 high school kids on a plane to New York and then spending 2 nights. I'm sure she would welcome any volunteers that want to come help her chaperone.
Sure. I do not have a legal concern, and if the board would like me to address that, I'd be pleased to do so.
All right. The only thing I would ask is just to verify that the children in the district or the entities that are not public entities, just verify they indeed are living in the county in Harris County.
Yep,
so that we don't have any legal issues.
Right. In order to participate in Scholastic, you have to be a Harris County student. You can't live outside the county and participate in Harris County Scholastic because each county has their own.
Okay.
But we can certainly can verify.
The Pearland student and the Clear Creek student both live in Harris County. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, sir. To the best of our knowledge, we can certainly verify that individually if that's the will of the board.
I think it's
Good.
just to collect the, just get addresses or some kind of information card. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. Just get something so you know who they are. Make sure they all have county addresses. If they have county addresses, from what I understand from our attorney, as long as they live inside the county, we are collecting then taxes from their parents. Therefore, they are tax-paying entities, or at least their parents are.
That is correct, President Evans.
Okay, so that addresses the concern that was brought up earlier?
Legally speaking, yes, sir, it does.
All right. Yes, sir.
I have a question. So in the future, if we do things to help out private schools, we can, so long as they're in Harris County. Is that a correct statement?
No, that's not what I'm saying, sir. What I'm saying is in this instance, we're not transferring money to a private school. What we are doing is transferring money. We're not transferring money. We're using taxpayer money to fund the trip for tax-paying students. The money's not going to the school at all. There may be circumstances where this board considers paying money to private schools for whatever reason, but this isn't one of them.
So there are circumstances where we can help out private schools if they're in Harris County. Is that correct?
I can't think of any offhand where you've done that.
No.
Or where you would, but I'm not foreclosing the possibility that there might be a request in the future.
Well, now I'm confused because you just said we could, now you said we can't. Which is it?
I don't think I did,
Travel of
sir.
We're paying for the travel.
Not helping out.
You can help
private schools.
students of private schools if they're in Harris County.
That is correct.
Students of private schools, if they're in Harris
We're
County.
not helping the school.
We just can't help the school.
Right. We can't pay for the school, but we can help students.
Okay.
As long as their parents live in Harris County.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That is correct, and thank you, Mr. Wolf, for the clarification.
Also, Jimmy, you mentioned they're going to New York, but you mean Washington, right?
Washington.
Okay.
The Scholastic is based in New York. My apologies, Mr.
Okay.
Wolf. I misspoke.
Okay, so Harris County is sending 30 students up to this competition or exhibition?
It's an exhibition of their art, yes, sir, at the United States Department of Education.
Mr. Moore?
So how many, there's 30 students going, and it's 30,000, so roughly it's $1,000 per student, correct? And so how many students possibly could be in question?
30 is the sum total.
No. In question, not living in Harris County. What's of these? So it's only those students that possibly live in.
I think it's the private schools, the Kincaid, the Kips, things like that. That's what the issues are.
Well, Don was asking about Pearland.
Oh, Pearland, okay.
Well, how many students could potentially not be in Harris County from?
Well, I think none of them are.
So
I think it's zero.
So I would hesitate to try and engage in that with the board. I think what we might be able to do based on what the president indicated is that we would verify that the students live in have addresses in Harris County before we expend those resources, and then verify with the board. We can bring information out and back to the board next time to let you know the outcome of that. If that's that's what I understood. What we typically do.
Yes, because if I want all students to go regardless. We'll figure out a way if it's even privately funded for those students to go. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So if there's any question, all I want to know is how many are there, and we'll figure out a way to fund it outside of this board.
I think we best, if I may speak for him, then it sounds like we want you to verify who they are so we don't get any legal problems. But if there's a student, for whatever reason, that would have to be denied, before you deny them, we're going to discuss it. Is that okay?
Yes. We will not tell any student no.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. So, any other discussion with this? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Number 8E, consider approval of the 2016-2017 Head Start Self-Assessment Report and Response Plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Carter, okay. Trustee Carter, and a second by Dr. Chapman. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, may I have a vote? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider approval of the HCDE Area 1 Head Start impasse procedures. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, got a motion by Trustee Dick and a second by Trustee Wolf. Okay. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider approval of amendment number 1 to the services agreement with the Child Care Centers LLC to provide substitute teachers and teaching assistants, RFP 13/040KJ, to the HCDE Area 1 Head Start program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion by Trustee Dick. Do I have a second? Second by Trustee Troutman. Do I have any discussion?
Right here.
Okay, Mr.
Is this amendment just to approve the additional 15,000? Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider acceptance of the notice of award, Amendment 1 for the Early Head Start Child Care Partnerships, EHS-CCP, carryover request from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Trustee Dick.
Second.
Second by Trustee Wolf. Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is a large amount of carryover. Can you explain?
Yes, for the early Head Start, so we had several agreements, as you will see in the next item, but we're not able to spend the entire amount now in this fiscal year, so it allows us to carry over for the new school year. And there was an amendment that I presented earlier today that basically is this amendment.
Anybody else?
So we're going to have that amount for the entire next fiscal year, not just through the federal year. Okay.
You good? All right. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, consider approval to amend the payments in terms of 3 Early Head Start Child Care Partners CCP agreements. It's the John G. Jones Learning Centers, Let's Learn Children's Learning Center, and the Breaking Free Foundation, DBA High Achievers Learning Center. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Dick and a second by Mr. Wolf. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sumner.
I noticed that these adjustments in prices are considerably different for all of these items. Is there some reason that the adjustments are so much more for one school than they are for another, or one organization than they are for another by student cost?
Not to my knowledge. This is just the increases in the contract, because some of the contracts already we need to add to the term in some additional days, for additional students that were identified in service, so we're expanding the contract at the same rate that it was shared.
Well, but what I'm talking about is the expansion per student varies dramatically.
Between, you're talking between the different contractors?
Yeah. One is for $4,375 per student. The 8 students, that's the Breaking Free Foundation. The one above that is $3,375, and the one over the first one. Let's see which.
Well, there's different days too, so there's not, you're not looking apples to apples.
Tells you the number of days.
Yeah, some of them are different days in there.
Yeah, there are different rates, but it's based on the number of days.
Well, but the days don't vary that much.
The rates are the same for both, it's just the number of days different.
So how do you get between, let me see here.
Trustee Sumners, a difference in the rate is also depending on the type of student. Some of the students are subsidized and some of them are unsubsidized, so that's
an explanation that makes sense.
That's
Thank
another
you.
difference.
And also age of student. So it costs more to provide services to a newborn than it does to a 2-year-old because of the amount of time, number of people in the room.
Thank you.
Yeah, have we had a discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Consider approval of service agreement with Valley Services, Inc. to provide meal services for 71 students. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I heard, okay, you're a...
Second,
you're-
whatever.
Okay. Well, Troutman, we'll give you the first and we'll give you the second. How's that sound? All right.
I've got a
Discussion?
discussion, please. On the, what's the difference between the J contract and the K contract? One for lunch and one for breakfast or something?
No, the K contract is the current provider and the J contract is the new one that we want to start utilizing, so.
The K contract, just so since you brought it up, is going to be removed from the agenda item today, so.
Oh,
it's
it
not
is?
gonna- It's not going to be under consideration.
Well, I can still ask about that, right?
But you can, but it's not going to be considered.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering why the big difference in the price. It's $783 for one and $1,000 and $1,100 for the other one.
Yeah, the item on K, that amount represents the remaining year, and J would represent a full year of a new contract.
And again, we're on J right now, so.
Okay, I understand.
All right. Any other questions? Mr. Sumner, you okay?
Yes.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. As I mentioned before, K has been pulled by the administration. L, consider approval of an expenditure contract with the Safe Plans LLC, job number 16/048YR, to provide emergency response information portal services, ERIP. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Dick.
Second.
Second by trustee Moore. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please raise your hand if you approve. All in favor, motion passes unanimously. Let's see, where am I at? Yeah, am I right? All right, consider and possible action regarding the dates and times of HCDE regular board meetings, including possible revision to policy BE local. Now, I will tell you, I received requests from two separate groups to change the date, so I talked to Sarah and had it worded like this so that anybody could come up with whatever they want. So, based on this, do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
Okay, Mr. Wolf.
Second.
What? I haven't made my motion.
He hadn't made his motion yet. This is a blanket thing here.
I guess to start it off, I would move that we move our regular board meeting dates to the third Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Okay, do I have a second? Got a second. Do I have a discussion based upon this one? Dr. Troutman or Dr. Lee?
Well, to start, on the amendment, that's going to change our whole calendar that we've already put out to people, so that could be a problem. I'm fine with changing the time, but we've long held our board meetings on Tuesdays, so I don't know how much confusion that may cause.
Ms. Lee?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of changing the day. There are a whole lot of day of the week I'm just in favor of changing the time. There are a whole lot of schedules, meetings, all kinds of things that are linked to our current third Tuesday. This has been public information for many years. And I just
I second your motion.
aware of that when they run for the board.
Tuesday has just become impossible for me to come to a board meeting. And that's my reason for wanting to change it.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, what if we moved it to the afternoon, would you be?
No, Tuesday is totally out.
Tuesday's a bad day for you.
I was just going to add that there's been more than one occasion in the past when I've served on the board when we have moved days of the week for different reasons.
Moved it before.
Well, even before that, we moved from Tuesdays to Mondays, then back to Tuesdays.
Yes, ma'am.
But not permanently. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it was
think
permanently until we did it again.
How long ago was that? Because
2008, 2009.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that, I see pros and cons to both. And I'll play the devil's advocate, Mr. Moore.
I understand.
You knew when you got here, it was the meetings were on Tuesday. And we did move it earlier to do some accommodations. But I also understand that you want to be here, so why you would like to have it moved. So, I mean, for me personally, Wednesday's about the only other day that would work for me. So I mean, Wednesday's not as an issue for me.
I guess Fridays would work also.
No, it's Friday. Fridays. Yeah, I mean, I can do Friday, but nobody else would want to do Friday. Especially we get 40.
I'm good Friday.
Well, if we get 40 amendments and we have a marathon thing, we're here till 10 o'clock at night. Nobody's going to be happy. So, I think.
Could we perhaps just change the time on Tuesday to a little later and just do it for a set amount of time, 5 months, until we can all look at calendars and see what would really work for all of us? And, that's important.
I don't think that we should deliberately cause a board member not to be able to come to the meetings. So, but I would like to postpone any decision until next month and let Lewis survey all the board members as to what dates would be
Don,
for them.
I don't think George can be here next month.
No, that's not going to work for me. I mean,
well, you can miss one meeting.
No, I will not be available beginning on the 20th of every Tuesday from now on.
Well, I understand that. We're going to move the date, I said, but we're going to.
I won't be here to vote on it next time.
Well, I'm sorry. We're trying to accommodate you, but you can't be ugly about it.
I don't think we should be talking, the board president shouldn't be talking about this offline with board members for the sake of the Open Meetings Act. We can discuss it here at the table. Certainly the superintendent can have discussions with board members, but I am concerned that Mr. Evans might walk into something inadvertently if he has offline discussions with board
happen
members.
to second with that. I would agree that I would be okay if we delegated this to Mr. Colbert, since he has nothing else to do.
One board meeting a year. Christmas.
But I mean.
I like that.
Because the problem, because I've had this discussion with Sarah and with James before, is that sometimes as you guys talk to me about things, I didn't become aware of that if I continue the conversation, I now have a problem. So I just assume not to step into that problem if I can avoid it. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm trying to keep me out of trouble as well. Yeah, but I'm okay with him doing it because it's okay by law for him to do it.
Go ahead.
Well, just real quick, Mr. President Evans and I have had some discussion because a number of other board members have discussed with me the issues with the schedule. And really the bigger thing that's come up is the time of day has been problematic. Traditionally, historically, throughout the country, most public schools never have board meetings on Wednesdays because it's a church night.
But they also meet in the evening.
Hold on. And typically, boards meet in the afternoon and the evenings 5 or 6. So the only thing I think we should be mindful of, obviously everybody's schedule needs to coordinate, but there are going to be times, as we've seen in our board meetings, where visitors want to come and visit. They want to speak or whatever, and they need to be able to have the opportunity to do that. So we need to keep that in consideration also.
I am against waiting until August. People know their schedules generally, unless you're giving me some reason, Mr. Sumner, that you don't know your schedule. I'm making decisions about kids' schooling, starts at the end of August. I have to commit to certain things, and people have to commit to jobs, make flights, etc. We already have pushed it back and keep pushing it back. So if anyone can say, I have no idea what my schedule is, I don't hear that. I hear Mr. Moore knows his schedule. I know my schedule. I don't hear anyone saying they don't know their schedule. This needs to be resolved.
I agree.
I called for a vote on this.
Call the question.
Are you calling the question?
Yes.
Okay, that needs a 2/3 vote. We're going to call the question.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of moving the board meeting from?
No, all, oh, yes, right.
All in favor of calling a question? All right, please raise your hand. All in opposed of calling a question? Motion fails.
That means discussion can continue.
Okay, so, yes.
Okay, I think we had an amendment to change it to Wednesday, but we don't have a time on that. So
Yeah, we
I
did.
said 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
So it said 11 o'clock. So the question would be, if we do it on Wednesday at 11 o'clock, does that cause anybody any issue? How about Dr. Troutman or Trustee Lee?
Well, as I've said on other occasions, I think our time is kind of whimsical. You know, we often have principals and teachers that need to come. So 9 is bad because they can't even hardly show up to their class. 11, probably the same thing. They can't even work half a day, huh?
About 1 o'clock? 1:30.
And 1, you know, is a little better. You know, I can't somehow seem to convince you that, I don't know why we're the only board that meets during the school day when we represent a lot of schools and teachers and students and parents. But I do believe that later would at least allow some of our educators to work half a day, to be there for the, you know, when the students come. It's a really important time of the day in the morning. And for those coming to present to us or from the public, they can work half a day and not take off an entire day of work or take their lunch break, which is closer to 12:30 or 1. But with the morning traffic and all those things, it's confusing.
Because Mr. Copeland and I had that discussion, like for me, when this thing starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm pretty much shot the whole day because I can't plan on when this thing's going to end, you know? And so that's an issue.
Lewis,
Yes, sir.
Eric mentioned 1:30. I'd accept that as a friendly amendment. 1:30 on Wednesday.
1.5 hours.
So you have plenty of time for lunch.
All right. So is it something that y'all would agree to do the Wednesday? I mean, I know we're not voting right now, but you will agree for the amendment to be friendly so that we will say it's going to be, we're going to vote on Wednesday at 1:30?
Yes.
I mean,
Why can't it be 1 o'clock? That's kind
All right,
of
1
weird.
o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Is that good, Eric? 1
That's
o'clock?
fine.
can you cut your lunch?
I mean, I know you get three-star, 3 courses, but.
All right. So as far as everybody's schedule, does anybody have an issue with a Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month at 1 o'clock? I'm not hearing anybody getting irritated. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think we made some changes on the November and December. They're like this, November was the last week after Thanksgiving.
Well,
and
that would
so-
stay the same.
So that would stand and then just be the Wednesday?
If that's good with you. Yeah.
It's good with?
Yeah.
All
Can I
right.
call the question then?
Well, the live amendment, or the live motion, I'm sorry. The live motion is for the third Wednesday at 11 a.m.
1 o'clock. I accepted a friendly amendment.
So was there a second to the friendly amendment?
Second.
Okay. And we're having there's an amendment to the motion for Wednesday meetings at 1 o'clock p.m., and that is what you're voting on. We're discussing.
Sorry, are we gonna, last time we made this, 6 months, are we gonna make this, school year, or, because we voted on the budget year, and we can review it in a budget year?
I say it'll be for perpetuity until such time as we change it again.
Or can we review it next summer? Is that
I'd
what you're
rather
asking
review
for?
it on the budget year. This is when we voted on the budget, which
think
is
that's
the
what you're
July
asking
meeting.
So you want to do it through August of next year, of 18? To be reviewed August?
July, to be reviewed in July.
To be
This is
reviewed in July?
Yeah.
That's fine. Y'all
That's
want to?
fine with me.
Yeah, okay, we'll just.
That means that would be changing next month, and then we'd keep that until July of next
We'll
year.
discuss it, there may not
And
be
in
any
July, we're
change.
just going to review it. We'll actually have it,
Okay.
it'll be an agenda item on the July of 18's
Okay.
board meeting, so that it may stay the same or it may change.
Yeah. But we would change it, but it starts next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Do I need to vote on, can I just do it as do I got to vote on any kind of amendment, or can I?
Let's keep the record clear, and let's make it a formal amendment to the motion, which I understand to be changing the meetings. We need a motion to change the meetings to Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday, thank you. Third Wednesday at 1 p.m. for review in July of 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Moore. Okay. Any discussions with this amendment? If not, all in favor of this amendment, please raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. So that's the amendment. So now we're going to vote on, or do we need to vote on the motion as
No, that's the motion.
No, everything else dies if the amendment passes.
So we're good?
You're good. You can move on.
Praise the Lord. All right. Okay, and then we have discovered this is something that's actually in the audit committee, so this does not need to be considered today. We do need to call an audit committee meeting, and this will be put on that audit committee agenda. Okay, so O, consideration of terminating the consulting contract currently in place with Hilco, effective within 45 days of the date of passage. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Sumner. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Moore. Do I have any discussion? Looks like the superintendent's going to say something.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess my first question is why would we be terminating the contract of Hilco?
You want to know the answer? We don't need it.
Why do you feel like we don't need it?
You don't have anything pending before the legislature.
Well, but we have a special session.
Well, there's not anything that's going to be on the special session that affects
That
you either.
special session will be over in 45 days or
So
less.
it's my understanding that, and there's really two things. First of all, we're in a special session, and I know that one of the agenda items in our special session is the governor has put on there, I believe there's 20 different sunset reviews that he would like discussed and approved. We are not one of them,
That's
but
right.
hold on. We're not one of them, but as we know with all legislative procedures, there can be amendments to bills, and we could be sucked into that. I've been getting updated weekly and watching to make sure that we don't get sucked into one of those bills during the special session. In addition to that, when we do these contracts with companies like Hilco and others that represent us, these contracts are typically throughout an entire year. They're not for just during the legislative process alone. They're a year-long contract. If they were just for 3 or 4 or 5 months, we probably wouldn't even have the opportunity to get representation from some of these companies. So not only do I think that we need to continue this throughout the length of the contract as it was presented and approved by the board, but in addition, there's probably a high percentage chance that I'll be asking for the board to renew a contract once this one expires.
What is the expiration date of the current?
I'm not sure. Do you know that offhand, Dr. Amesqua? I've said it before, and I've said it publicly and formally, even in front of the legislators. When we stop having bills that compromise HCDE and compromise our existence and the services we provide to the citizens of Harris County, when those bills stop, I'll stop asking for lobbyists. But it's a difficult job for me to run the department and also have representation in Austin to play that political game. So I think that stripping away our support makes us vulnerable, and ultimately, during any time, makes us vulnerable, and opens us up for our threats.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think the best way to be prepared for the future is to look at what's happened in the past, and including this past session. For the past 3 legislative sessions, we have had bills filed against us by the same person. I think you have to be prepared for any eventuality, even in the special session.
As I'd like to point out, as Michael said, the special session will be over within 45 days.
30 days. 30 days, which is
Yeah,
less than
so
45 days.
we're not going to end representation for the special session, and the next legislative session isn't for 2 years.
We've had interim studies throughout the years that I've been on the board on the time that we're not in session. So we're constantly having to prove our worth, and we've done it well, but there is no off season for us, it seems like.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
If y'all want to do an RFQ for a consultant, I'm open to that. If y'all want to amend to do an RFQ, I am open to that.
I would move to do that.
What are we going to terminate and do an RFQ?
Is that what you're saying, or what are you saying?
What I'm saying is do an RFQ, and then at the result of the RFQ, if you want to get another consultant, we'll do it that way. Do an RFQ, put an RFQ out.
So why do you want a consultant?
Well, we're in the middle. We don't know if the special session, if another special session is going to be called. Like Dan Patrick said, he's going to call them. They're going to call them back to back. We don't know what's going to happen.
So
if y'all have problems with Hillco, do an RFQ. I'm open to that.
We don't have problems necessarily with Hillco. We just have a problem with the representation is excessive, and we up until just a few months ago we had more. We were paying more for than HISD was for.
I like Eric's idea.
Okay. Then I move to amend excuse me.
Well, I mean, we could actually, if you want to do this, all we have to do is put the agenda on the next board.
I'd rather have him amend this one.
Excuse me. So we're at O. Excuse me, not in O. So I'd move to amend O to read: consider the creation of an RFQ for the position of a political consultant.
Or consultant.
Or consultant.
Is that allowed? I mean, that's
totally
very far
different.
from the even original
Yeah, I
item.
don't think we can do that because we haven't posted to the public. We're talking about doing that. So I think we'd have to, if we don't want to do the termination, we need to vote that, or either pull it or vote it down.
That's correct.
And then you'd have to we already know we got enough votes to put on as an agenda item for the next board meeting, so we'll give the public notice that we're going to go for an RFQ.
Just as a point of clarity for the board, we're currently engaged in a contract with Hillco, which happened as a byproduct of an RFQ. Weren't our representation when I first got here. They are now because they responded to an RFQ. So we've gone through that procedure.
But I'm saying if the other board members want to go ahead and open it up where other people can do it, then we'll just.
I think, okay.
So
Want to please certain opinions, but I don't, people will not want to contract with us if just by the wind blows we want an RFQ. I've heard no reason that you don't like this particular consultant. All I've heard is that we don't need one, period. Those are two totally different things. If you have sat, and I guess I just don't like to get in this habit where everything that we just think is fiscally challenging is RFQ. I'd rather have a committee meeting. We have committees related to government relations. Get more details on everything they're doing if you don't feel you have them. That is reasonable. And then after that, if there's things that you still think need to be addressed. We also redo contracts on a renewal. You could ask our council to put additional items in the contract upon renewal so that they could better meet certain things that you think they're not doing. But just to automatically go all the way to an RFQ, which does cost the taxpayers money, which is expensive, which doesn't necessarily lead to better service or deal. It can, but it doesn't guarantee. And also hurt some of our relationships with some of our consultants, which has happened in the past. When we went to an RFQ, some people we wanted to apply did not want to apply because of the uncertainty.
I'd still like to get the date for the current contract being over.
We're getting that.
Okay.
So,
Hang on.
back to one of my original points, I'm not sure I still understand why we want to cancel the contract. We just made it through a legislative session where we had no less than 5 bills we were facing, which is historic. None of them passed, and we had excellent representation that assisted us with that process. I've never been asked the quality of our lobby group. I've never had any board member inquire about that. I've never thought that we had any problems with it. I absolutely think that if we just cancel a contract that we're into with Hillco, we're leaving ourselves open for damage. And
There's a 30-day provision in the contract.
I didn't say we couldn't do it. I didn't say we couldn't do it. I'm saying that it could be possibly detrimental to this organization that you serve as a board member.
Okay, Mr. Dick, you said yes.
Sure. You want to table this to next meeting, and then we could deal with the RFQ at the same time? And are you willing to table this to the next meeting?
Yeah.
So I'd move to table until the next meeting.
Second.
Works for me.
All right, all in favor of tabling it, please raise your hand. All opposed?
So you're saying until the August board meeting?
Yes.
All right, so it's 6-4 and 1 against the table. Okay? So with that, we are now going to go into executive session. Under the Texas Government Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by section 551.001 through 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071 through 551.07. And we're in executive session. The board is back in session. It is now 12:18. And we have under consideration the employment of Director of Research and Evaluation. Are we supposed to vote on it? There's nothing for us to do, is it? It's not even
vote on that.
Okay, on that, just to vote on that one? Okay. Do I have a motion for item 10A?
Yes.
Second.
That was Mr. Moore was the second. Mr. Dick was the
He originated.
the original. There you go. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed?
You have to have
They'd have to have discussion? No, but
to hire the recommended person or something.
no, we're good. It's already passed, too. All right.
What was the vote?
7-0. It passed unanimously.
Down at 10A pass.
Do I have any other motions?
Whatever that is.
I got a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Got a second by Mr. Dick. All in favor? All in favor of adjourning? Mr. Moore?
You know, we have a committee adjourned for this.
Well, what happened to all these items?
Okay, we're done.
No, you don't.
Thank goodness.